How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and I have a kind of overview and product update on some Gil-Tek gear. These are a couple different variations of the Gil-Tek RUK, and I've been a big fan of Gil-Tek for a while. I've had some of their older models for several years now, and the kind of the background on this is I was going to do, and I still am planning to do, a budget USA-made knives and maybe including some other gear video, but all budget-minded stuff that's made in the USA. And I kind of had forgotten about including the RUKs in that video. And then I saw on Instagram that they just released these new versions. He updated the aluminum ones to these V3s. He released these polymer versions. So I reached out to him on Instagram, to Gil-Tek directly, and asked if he would be interested in sending some stuff over for me to review on the channel and to include in that video. And he was like, absolutely. So I really appreciate, thank you again for Gil-Tek for sending these over. Really appreciate it. I forgot the owner's name. I know he has a YouTube channel and everything, so I'll link to his YouTube, his Instagram, and his website and everything down in the description, but just wanted to say shout out. Thank you so much for sending these over. I was just going to include them in the video about the USA budget gear, but I was like, you know what? I like these enough that I want to do my own video on these, kind of just showing them off, and then you'll see them again in that one. So we're going to do all the usual review stuff, but before we get into it, I have to thank the sponsor of the channel, which is Auxiliary Manufacturing. Mike over at Auxiliary Manufacturing is making big plays, doing all kinds of cool custom USA-made fixed blades. He's got a lot coming up here. One of the things that he just released recently at the end of last year was these pocket Bowie models, which, as you can see, has been getting used, and is there's going to be a review on this coming very soon, probably later this week, if not next week. But please go check out Mike. He's been really helping the channel out, buying gear for me and sending stuff over for me to reviews and shouting videos out. So please go check out Auxiliary Manufacturing. Again, I have a discount code with them, Justified10. Will get you 10% off your order at auxiliarymanufacturing.com. Links to all that kind of stuff will be down in the description. I apologize for kind of a longer intro with lots of promotional stuff, but got to do it. And as always, I put timestamps in all of my videos, so if you want to skip through all of this, there's going to be timestamps that you can skip up past all this. But let's get right into this here. So get some stuff out of the way and kind of focus on the history real quick of Gil-Tek's stuff, in my experience at least. So the first Gil-Teks I got, I think I had seen his like V1 RUK before, which I don't actually have a V1. This is a V2, and these are the ones that I think got like pretty popular in the EDC community. From what I gathered watching Gil-Tek's YouTube, he was just a machinist, engineer kind of job, which I can relate to, and working in a CNC shop, and was kind of making these part-time on top of his normal job, using company equipment with permission from his employer, which is super cool. It's always cool when employers let you use equipment for personal projects. So he started making these. They took off locally, and then he started selling them online on Instagram. And then this V2 is the one I think that, from what my understanding and kind of from what I remember about when I started seeing these pop up, the V2 is when they started to get pretty popular. I don't know if these kind of just tiny little utility knives are as popular as they used to be. But for a while in the community, like this kind of form factor with like a retractable razor blade was all the rage. Like everyone and their uncle was making one of them. But I think this was one of the best value ones that provided a lot of function, was USA made, really good quality, but didn't cost an arm and a leg. So the V2, I want to say these costed around 30 bucks for the aluminum ones. And the V2 one here, you have the retractable blade, you have a bottle opener, you have this, I think they said originally in the product description it was for like cutting fishing line, but cutting any kind of cordage or anything like that. And then you have like a light duty pry bar here on the back. Again, it's aluminum, so take that as you will. And then you have a 1/4 inch driver slot right there. Not something I would ever use, but as you can see, I did use the pry bar scraper just for like light duty, just getting underneath something or scraping some tape or a sticker off. But these are really cool. There's no mechanism in this to retract and everything other than this bar here. So let me pop the blade out real quick so you can see. So there's this bar here that just keeps pressuring on the blade. And you can see down inside there's a notch that once the blade is inside, catches on those nubs here on the top. Sorry, it's hard to do this under the camera. So you can slide out and it'll catch in one position, and then you push down and slide it out more, and it'll catch fully in that open position. And then you just push down and slide back. So it's completely safe. Your fingers are nowhere near the blade when you're sliding that in and out, but it does lock open and closed, which is really cool. And yeah, I really liked this design. I thought it was great. I've had a couple of these over the years. I'm down to only one. I sold my other extra ones because I wasn't carrying them as much, but I still occasionally will throw this in my pocket. So now moving on, these are the V3, and then these are the RUK-P for plastic or polymer, I'm assuming. So the V2s you could get in aluminum, you can get them in brass and copper and titanium and all those kind of stuff. The V3 is the same way. There's just some design updates, but you can get them in aluminum, brass, and titanium. The aluminum are 30, the brass are 50, and the titanium are 100. And then these polymer ones, the RUK-P, are $10, and these are just an injection molded plastic. So these are awesome. I want to talk about these first. I actually think I'm most excited about the P models, but let's talk about the updates between the 2 and the 3. Real quick, I'm just going to take the blades out here so we can just look at the construction of the actual holder itself. So there are the difference between the 2 and the 3. You have pretty much all the same functionality. So you have, you don't have the strap cutter or cord cutter, whatever you want to call it. I think that's really the only change. You still have a pry bar here on the back, a little bit longer of a prying surface. I kind of line it up there, a little bit more length. And then you move the bottle opener from the front here to the back. And now instead of this 1/4-inch driver being just a milled pocket here in the back, it is milled in the front, and it doesn't go all the way through, actually. And you know what? Let me grab something here to show this off. I forgot to pull this out before I started filming. The closest 1/4-inch thing I have by is this Milwaukee extension here. But it doesn't just slip all the way through. It actually sits in there, and there is a little shelf milled into it right there that actually keeps it going through all the way. So in a pinch, you could put a 1/4-inch bit or an extension or something like that and use it as a bit driver. Not something I ever really did, but I know a lot of people like having that feature. But then yet you all still have your bottle opener pry bar. And then let's see, the only other differences there. One of the big differences is this is a 2-piece construction. As you can see, the seam going down on both sides, and then these 2 pins that are pinning it together, whereas this is integral. It is all one piece of aluminum that was milled out, which I think is pretty cool. I never had any durability issues with this, but this completely removes any durability issues that you could ever possibly have because it is just one solid piece of aluminum. One of the other things, I think they did make some of the V2s that were compatible with a pocket clip somehow. I never had one of those, but these also have 2 holes here that have been tapped to accept. Let me see if I can grab one of mine. Any of the Lynch Northwest, like Spyderco pattern clips, I think. I'm not sure if it's the Spyderco pattern or the Benchmade pattern. I'll have to check that out and let you guys know. But a lot of those deep carry aftermarket clips by Lynch Northwest and MXG Gear will fit on here. We're just using 2 of the 3 holes. So if you wanted to pocket carry this with a clip, you could do so. One of the only other changes that I saw, let me put the blades back in here because you're going to have to be able to see this, is when the blades are fully extended in the locked position, you have a little bit more exposed blade on the V2 as opposed to the V3. So if I line them up there, you got about an 1/8 inch more of exposed blade on this, which is not a huge deal, but it's just something to note that you get a little bit less exposed blade on the V3. In terms of ergonomics, they both have the jimping up here. These are a slight bit thinner, I want to say, than the V2. So let's see what, I think the V2 came in at like 0.2. Yeah, so the V2's coming in right about there. V3. So you're definitely thinner on the V3. And I think the P is about the exact same thickness as the V2, yeah. So it's a little bit thinner. Your jimping is slightly different here. It's a little bit more polished here. It's not as sharp, which again, jimping on these, it's not super necessary, but it is kind of nice just as an indexing point. So I could take it or leave it. This is a little bit more bitey. This one kind of locks you in a little bit more. This is more comfortable, I'd say. A little bit thinner. One of the major differences, other than it being an integral, is also that all of the edges are now chamfered. So as you can see on the V2, you just kind of have flat sides. It's not that these are sharp, but they're just not chamfered. You have straight edges on all of your corners versus the V3. Everything is nicely chamfered all the way around. And on the V2, you kind of just had these two finger grooves here to index. On this one, you have 3. And actually moving the pry bar to the back, you kind of, depending on your hand size, I wear a medium-sized glove, I can get a full 4-finger grip on this. Now, again, when you're using this, you're probably mostly going to be using it in pinch grips or maybe like this. You might occasionally be using it like this. And so you can get a pretty decent grip on this with that pry bar in the back and those finger grooves. The placement happens to work for me. But that's just one thing to note is I think the V3 is slightly more comfortable overall just because of all the chamfering going on. The other thing that I noticed, and correct me, Gil-Tek, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this looks more of like a coating for the color on here versus this is definitely anodized. So here you can see like all the tooling paths and stuff like that, machining lines. Whereas on here, everything is pretty flattened out. So my guess is this is some kind of Cerakote or something like that. I think the V3 is a little bit smoother just because running something over anodization is usually a little smoother than running something over a coating, but it's negligible. So now that we've talked about the differences between those two, let's talk about the P. And I know I'm kind of going out of order. I will get to some size comparisons, but I wanted to talk about this first. One, because I think most people know about the size of these, and it's very to see with your standard side razor blade in there how big these are. I am going to get to some size comparisons though here, just to let you know. So now that we have looked at the V3, which, by the way, these two are the exact same, just one's in blue, one's in black. And we'll come back to these lanyards and everything. But let's take a look at the P. So the P is basically just a very simplified version of the RUK, and it is injection molded. Now, from what I'm aware, these are not made in-house. However, they are still made in the USA. He outsources to an injection molding company, but said injection molded company is in the USA. So these are still USA made, just not made in-house like these aluminum and brass and titanium ones are. Those are all machined by him. These he sends out for, but it is still a US product, which is very cool. So what I like about these, one, I think these are probably the most comfortable just because they're completely neutral. There's no extra gizmos and gadgets. It's the same thickness as the V2. However, it is chamfered just like the V3s are. So everything's chamfered all the way around. The jimping is still actually more grippy though, kind of like how it is on the V2. And because you don't have anything poking you here in the back, I think these are probably the most comfortable out of all of them, maybe even more than the V2. So I really like that. You have your lanyard hole here in the back, which if I didn't mention, obviously there's a lanyard hole here, lanyard hole in the V2. But that's really the only extra feature of the P model, which makes sense, right? The things that you have on the aluminum models, like a pry bar and a bottle opener and a driver, don't make sense in a polymer version because simply the polymer wouldn't hold up to it, right? So I think that was a good move, just keeping these simple. It is just a box opener, just a little utility blade holder. I like that quite a lot. Same thing here. I'll slide the blade out so you can look here. at the internals, which I have a hard time there. So same thing here, just in polymer. You have that little piece here putting pressure on your blade, and then you have these two holes, or these two little nubs here that when you put the blade in, get it up over this little spot here in the front that catches. This it is a little bit harder to get the blades in on this one, I will say. It's not impossible, and once it's in, it works just fine. So slides up here, and then those two cutouts in the blade match up with those two nubs there, locking it in place. And the only way to close it then is to put pressure down, so you clear those nubs and slide it back in. The one thing to note on the polymer one, there's only one position that it locks in. Because there are two nubs there, if you were trying to do like the half open like on the other one, see that this one doesn't catch, so it doesn't lock in that position. You absolutely could, if you just wanted a little bit of blade out, like you're trying not to cut too deep into something, you could just slide this out and keep pressure on the blade and then use it. But if you want to fully lock it open, that's how you're going to do it. So you only have one position on there. One thing to note though, the amount of blade that you have available on the P versus the V2 is a little bit more similar. So if you look at the P versus the V3, you do have more blade exposed on the P versus the V3. Again, I don't think that really matters a whole lot. It's just something that like caught me off guard, not in a bad way. Just like I was like, oh, they're slightly different on how much blade is exposed. So something to note there. And the other thing is their logo is now on the inside of the molding there. You can kind of see, it's kind of hard to show on camera, but there is still a logo on there, but no other extra features. I kind of do like the cutout on the back here where you can see the back of the blade. But other than that, that is the P model. And again, this is the exact same, just in green. So let's do a comparison to some other razor blade holders, some other utility knives, and then I'll show you in comparison to some other tools. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out that you saw at the beginning, all of these come in a nice little package with either this sticker or this sticker. Both of the stickers are pretty cool. I've had these forever. I have a bunch of these all around on a bunch of my gear. These are new, and they're pretty cool. You get the V2 RUK on them, or at least they're new to me. I have no idea how long he's been making these, but just something to be aware of. Those come in the package. All right, let's pull out some other things. So I'm just going to put one of each of these here. Get the rest of these out of the way. So we have a P, we have a V3. I think the most obvious comparison is going to be something like this, just your typical pop knife, ox knife, whatever you want to call these. But it's just the little sliding guy that takes these kinds of razor blades as opposed to a standard utility blade. It goes in there, slides inside, just kind of friction fit. Hides the blade, you tap it on your leg or something, and you have an exposed part of the razor blade there. Open your box. So next to that, put either of these, one of these on either side there. So a little bit shorter thickness. Obviously the pop knife is going to be significantly thinner to both of these, but not that it really matters all that much. Another comparison that I have to make because they're so popular is the Milwaukee Fastback. Obviously, a little bit different of a tool. They're going to function very different, and they're going to be for different things. But because they take the same blades and they're both very popular, we're going to compare the size there. So with the lanyards, about the same size, but obviously significantly more low profile, even when folded up there. Let's check the thickness. So that is the Milwaukee Fastback. Here, if you want to look at the one with the driver, which is even bigger, that's what that looks like. And then one more kind of shameless self-promotion thing. One of my other, my kind of side business that I have with my father and I have a 3D printing company called G3D Printables. This is our little utility knife holder called the Occam's Razor. It's just a little 3D printed utility knife holder. This one's got some rust on it because I've had it in here forever. But then it just has some magnets on the inside, so you just pop that in there. Whoops, messed that up. Pop that in there, and then the magnets keep that retained. So there's that next to the RUK. And then let's just take a look at some other tools that people are probably familiar with in comparison to the RUK. So here is the 5-inch pair of Knipex Cobras. As you can see there. Here is Workshop Mini or Micro Sharpener. I think these are pretty popular. Most people will be familiar with those. Thickness, length, width. There you go. Here is a Leatherman Free T2, which you guys have been following this channel for long enough. You've definitely seen this. Been carrying this for a while. With the blade open. There you go. That's with the T2. And let's see, just a full-size multi-tool. Here is the Leatherman Free P2. And open. That's what you're looking at. So hopefully that gives you a decent size comparison. One thing before I kind of get to like, who is this for? What is this good for compared to some other utility knives? I wanted to mention carrying these with lanyards and stuff like that. Obviously, you can get pocket clips for these. I think for me, though, the best application of these is kind of just dropping them in your pocket, either in your coin pocket or down in the pocket, not having to take up more space on your pocket with another clip. And the other reason I say that is because these are so lightweight. I forgot to get you a weight at the beginning, but these are crazy lightweight. So I'm going to take the lanyards off of the, actually, no, I have other versions of them. Why am I taking lanyards off when I can do this? So the V2, which I believe you can still get some of the V2s. I might be wrong about that, but V2 was coming in at 0.8 ounces. The V3 is coming in at 0.6 ounces, so 0.2 ounces lighter. And then I believe these are coming in at 0.4. Yeah, the polymer models are coming in at 0.4. So if you even think you might have a need for one of these, there's really no good reason not to carry one because they're so damn lightweight. They're all, no matter what model you get. Now, obviously, the brass one is going to be heavier. That will probably be over an ounce. Titanium might still be under an ounce, might be like right at an ounce. But they're so damn lightweight. They're all less than an ounce for the most part. They take up virtually no room in your pocket. They're super thin, super lightweight. So with these lanyards here, that's kind of my preferred way of carrying it. I threw this loop of paracord on here yesterday when I got it. This one's been in my pocket since I got it. Just kind of sit it down in your pocket, pull it out. It also gives you a little bit of extra grip if you want to choke back on it, get a little bit more reach with these. Because if there's no lanyard on here, you're kind of forced to use it like this, and you don't have a whole lot of reach. But with the lanyard, you can kind of choke back and hold it like that if you need to get down into something. So that is an option. The other one here is, this is, if you've been watching the channel long enough, this is a retention ring. Retention ring is another awesome small maker in the US. Just makes these rings out of Kevlar cord, and a O-ring here, and some shrink tube. That it's just it's literally what it's called. It's a retention ring. So if you're using this, cutting some stuff up, you're opening packages. I need to use my hands for something. I can just drop this, swing it out of the way. If I'm kind of receiving stuff at my job, like open a box, take it out. Okay, I need to input my stuff in my computer. Oh, I need to grab something here. Oh, I need my knife again. There we go. So retention ring, pretty cool. I know he uses a lot these on his personal box cutters. I think it would be really cool to see a collab between retention ring and Gil-Tek. That would be super cool. I know retention ring has done collaborations with some other makers, especially on these P models. You could do kind of like a package deal of a retention ring and a P model for pretty damn cheap, and I think it would be profitable for both of them. So I will tag both of them when I make a post about this video on Instagram and see if I can get something together, because I think this would be an awesome collab. So who is this knife for, and what is its purpose over something like the Fastback? I think the Fastback, being both models, really, especially one with the driver, is more of like a dedicated work tool. You have a full grip on it. You can definitely get some more power into your cuts. You have extra blade storage. You have other tools in some cases. This is definitely a harder worker. It's like if you don't want to carry like a normal pocket knife or a bigger multi-tool like a Leatherman, but you want to be able to cut stuff on the job, that's kind of who I see this as being for. What I kind of see stuff like this and stuff like the pop knife and the Occam's razor is something that you have with you in supplement with a normal knife, or if you carry just a multi-tool, something that is, one, very unobtrusive. So if you had to take this out and use it in public, where bringing out your fixed blade or your bigger folding knife may not be publicly acceptable, people usually aren't as scared of box cutters for whatever reason, even though way more crime is committed with box cutters over other knives. I digress. People don't seem to be as scared by utility knives, especially brightly colored ones like this, and it's so small you could probably get this out, kind of use it and put it away without anyone even seeing it. So that's one application. Also, if you carry really expensive knives that you don't want to gunk up with kind of gross shit, you can keep one of these in your pocket for virtually no weight or size, and you can kind of use that when you don't want to use your more expensive blades. I personally like beating up on expensive knives, but I know not everyone does, so that's kind of where I see these falling. In conclusion, these are awesome. Gil-Tek, thank you so much for sending these over. Like I said, I've been a big fan of Gil-Tek stuff for a long time. I had and used this V2 for forever. So what I want to do here is, because he sent me 2 of each here, I'm going to keep 1 of each for my own testing and for my own recommendation and using a size comparisons and all that good stuff. So I think I'm going to keep these 2, but these 2 here, so one of the V3s in the blue anodized aluminum and one of the P models in the green polymer, I'm going to give away. So what I'm going to do is, and I'll make the post, I'm going to make a community post here on the YouTube channel that will drop at the same time as this video. All you're going to have to do is go over to that post, and I'll leave directions on there. I don't know if I'm going to have you like select a poll to enter. Actually, you probably have to comment so I can see your responses. But I'll put a poll over, or a post over on the community section of my YouTube channel. Go over there, look at the directions. I'll leave it open for maybe a day or 2. Go enter over there, and I don't know, maybe should I pick 1 winner? Should I pick 2 winners? I don't know. Go see the post and see what I decide to do. But either way, I'm going to give these 2 away with their respective stickers to someone on my YouTube. So this is going to be exclusively through YouTube. It's not going to be through Instagram. So once again, Gil-Tek, thank you for sending these over. Guys, thank you for listening to this kind of very off-the-cuff rant video. Not rant in a bad way, but just kind of me talking and geeking out about these because I'm really excited about them. So if you have any questions about these, please leave them down in the comments section. Links to all this stuff will be in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video.